about a year ago, you initiated a really great discussion with me about how scientific evidence evolves and how we should remain open to layering on to past knowledge with new research outcomes. We were on a Zoom call, I think, for about an hour, just going down rabbit holes with this, and it was great. But if you would walk us through your approach to this and then speak to ideas of how we all can stay more open to new ideas that both advance our knowledge base and that of our clients.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, these were big components of both the talks that I did at Idea World, because it is so essential to everything. I was the person that, my degree was in basically fancy dress. I just was dressing up as different characters. So the academic stuff wasn't my thing. And so I thought, well, I just leave that to the academic people, those clever people. But as I said, when I was kicked off the edge of the cliff and realized I had to stop watching TV and actually try and learn how to do it, I needed something to help. And so I wanted to share that with other people. And, it's interesting because I used to think that the research changed, the science changed. But, when we found out that the world wasn't flat, it wasn't that it suddenly changed. We just suddenly asked better questions. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we're doing. And so we do have to try and remain humble and remove any emotional attachment that we might have to a technique. And I've loved a technique in the past. But now having this process, it means that I can let go of those strings, and my business is not evolved around putting everything into a technique or a way. But in order to do that, the first thing is everything's evidence-based. And so it's a big buzzword. Every bit of kit that comes out, every education provider will say, well, it's evidence-based. Well, it is, but it's still evidence-based if your dad told you that the tooth fairy exists. The evidence is from your dad. So we need to check what that source of evidence is to start off with. And I don't know whether you were in the session at this point, but something we use at Faster is our underpants. And I know I have to explain this to the US, because in the UK, we call them underpants. But I think you call them, I don't mean the trouser pants is what I mean. I mean the undies. And so if you imagine a pair of underpants and you've got the opening to start off with, and this is where you need to read everything. And the reason for that is I want to know if my client has been looking at Instagram and they're looking at social media posts. I want to know where they've got their information from, whether it's good information or not. So I want to know. I want to read scientific blogs, and I want to look at all their references, mm-hmm. and I want to go and look at those journals. But then I need to go and look at journals. And the hardest part is getting the question that's relevant to the client. But so now let's imagine we've got our pants and it's stuffed full of all this information that we've read. And we now need to have a line that we will accept as being the level of research that we take. And so for me, that level is, it needs to be an impact factor of about a 3, which doesn't sound very much, but in our fitness industry, it is still quite young, and that's still quite good. So for a fitness paper, the impact factor is the number that a journal is given by how many times it's been cited. And the better the study is. Now, it's not the be all and end all before all the academics start writing into the show going, it's not everything. It's not. It's just a small part of the puzzle, but it helps someone who's a non-academic sports scientist to help filter through. So that's a good guide.
So I have a quick question on that.
Yeah, sure.
So is the scoring a rubric that you've come up with, or is it something that is out there and existing?
It's out there and existing, and it's from Reuters. And sometimes we don't know the exact formula. And that's why I say it's not the be all and end all. But the higher that number is, the higher trust we can have for the journal. But the journal is the big magazine where we're reading the article.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit like saying that, you know, we've read an article from the IDEA magazine, and then we look at the quality of the whole magazine. So that's the impact factor given to that journal.
Okay, great.
And then the other things that we do is we go, because as I said, non-academic, I need help. Otherwise, this will take me all my time and I'll never trade any clients. So now I filter out, was it done on humans? So I don't want it on pig spines or rats or cockroaches. Or guinea pigs. I think we mentioned that on pelvic floor. There's a lot of research done on guinea pigs and men. I need to make sure that the size of the study is robust. Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure that it's about 100 people. You know, a lot of studies that get quoted, you look at it, it's like, it's done on 12 people. Mm-hmm. I mean, really? We need to make sure that the author is relevant. There's a lot of research going around with rugby in the UK about collisions. And one of the research papers I was looking at was actually written by a doctor of sexually transmitted diseases. And I'm like, red flag, red flag. And it turns out her son got injured in rugby, but it's not relevant to the topic. So these things are just a guide. And, you know, this is something that takes about 3 weeks in my mentorship program, and we try to sort of rush into a section. So there is a lot to it.
Yeah, and I'll add one more thing that we look for when we're sorting through research to publish in Fitness Journal. It's you know, who paid for the study? Was it sponsored? Because often, you know, the results are somewhat biased because, you know, a food board or someone else may have put money toward the research.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing from there, though, is once you've got that line, you can't deviate from it. If you're going to change anything, raise it. Mm-hmm. But the moment you then say, but in my personal experience, you've just gone down the rabbit hole, and now I can't trust what you say. Because if I'm saying I work from a place of here on my research, but, you know, this happened to me or this happened to my client, I'm now going story, and that's not the same. So you either need to say, this is a story, this is an N=1, this is not scientifically, you know, it's not gone through the rigor of science. So that's an important thing as well to help trainers.
Absolutely.